Hello, everybody. Welcome to the recap of Session 11, going into Session 12 of Campaign 4 of the Heroes Era. I'm a little sick as a forewarning, so apologies in advance. We start at the entrance of Tidepool Tavern. We find two dead guards that have been outside, but they didn't have any signs of fighting back. No stab wounds or blood. They were like pretty cold, though. And the front door is unlocked. We go in through the front door, and we're gonna bar it behind us to take a short rest. And there's a swarm of rats that we swiftly kill and then start eating because we're a goblin and an orc is in the party. Uh, then we start short resting, and then during my character goes out to see what's going on in the tavern and see if it's truly safe. And we find that most of it's flooded, but in a room where the teleportation circle that we need to go to in is two shadowy figures, PJ and his master Hideo. We have a little tense conversation about why they're here and what they want to do with us. And they basically say, we have a reason. We have some stuff to do in the Feywild, and you got to go there, so our interests align. So why don't we help each other out? And we're like, suspiciously said, okay, sure, we'll do that. Before we leave, Hideo takes PJ aside and gives him a satchel that we failed to see what was inside, and tells him to stay at Riverside and away for further instructions. We generally know that the master is like not a good guy, and we know like some small things about him using necromancy and all that such, and we know that Hideo works for him. So Hideo takes us along and teleports us and make a stop in a room with some seemingly thin walls made of paper, and Hideo uses some shadow puppets to communicate with the wall, making a shape of a bowl or some sort, and then we open through a wall and we go into this very ornate office with some mastercrafted desk and a bookcase that we spend like 20 minutes on. And then we find the master, who is introduced as Nashiro Boru, in parentheses, the White Bull. We have a conversation about what we're doing, and Nashiro knows that we're looking for Kevin, but he doesn't seem to care about that. He's still willing to let us help us get to him, and keeping our secret from Lady Jude, who's running the hunt, which is in the Feywild. He wants us to do a little favor for him in return. He wants us to find the location of like a keepsake or like a necklace that she has stolen from him. And he says that a man named Elias, who may or may not be there of his own will, might know where such an object is. He doesn't want us to try and get it, he just wants us to find out where it's at. We say, sure, that sounds easy. Why not? That's a good deal. And we agree, and he whisks us along to a small stone room, and Hideo says goodbye, saying he'll meet us if we make it out alive. That's when the dungeon starts. The first room is a small stone room. It's got four walls, a ceiling, and a floor, and an obelisk in the middle with four faces on each side. And using a little bit of magic, we find out that the obelisk has a lot of illusion magic, and the walls have transmutation magic on them. There's a face that glows bright through the eyes and the mouth and says a riddle saying, I will love the light, for it shows me the way, but I will endure the darkness, for it will show me the way. I think that's correct. That riddle might be incorrect, but uh, brass tacks, we spend a lot of time on the puzzle because it's a word puzzle, not something that can be reduced to a completion by die rolls. And we eventually cover up the face of the one that's glowing with Desperado's hat, and a bunch of 5 stars appear on the wall in a pentagon pattern. And Durian, using a rat as kind of like a buffer between the wall, draws an outline in rat blood, and nothing really happens. And so we take the hat off, and it's back to normal, but we still see the outline. And then through some fuffing about and trying to figure out if we can like break through the wall or not, I trace a star on the wall, meaning to do a pentagram, and it crumbles away into a hallway, and we're done. The second room is, I believe, the room that took us the longest part, which was a long hallway with a 10-foot section of just a bunch of ropes just connected from the wall to the ceiling to the floor, just all the way throughout, like a play place where, they have like the grid patterns. You have to like kind of weave in and out through them. The ropes were thick, like shipping ropes, and were seemingly not able to or be very hard to cut through. And the hallway was about 7 feet wide, so two people could stand shoulder to shoulder and be able to make through. And on each side of the hallway on the floor was a small trough filled with oil that was later ignited by pixies that were hiding in small peepholes in the wall. Uh, of course, I only do that after we find out that they're there. They light the left side first, and a clock starts. It's a bunch of black billowing smoke that Desperado keeps away with a thaumaturgy cantrip, wafting away with a kind of a gust of some sort. They give us advantage on our con saves that we make at the top of every turn to see if we have disadvantage on ability checks or not, and saving throws as well, which is important. Durian starts cutting through the ropes with a sword of sharpness, which is Kevin's sword, which does max damage against objects, which is probably the only reason why it worked to give people advantage in moving through. And everyone starts doing skill checks to, make things easier for everyone else, give advantage, and just to get through in general. Just to make it through as an athletic or acrobatics check, uh, just to get through the ropes. After buying time and cutting through, many people get tripped and restrained, me especially. I was stuck on the floor for like 2 or 3 rounds. It sucked. Cyrus got turned into a panda, which I don't think any of us saw in character, so we didn't know, but we still brought it along with us. And a lot of checks and some trailers later, everyone got free and got to the other side of the maze. We entered a third room where there's a slick 45-degree ramp uh, that was going up, and we couldn't see the other side of the ramp, but we assumed that maybe it went up and down like a curve, or maybe it was up and then flat. We tie a rope to the goblin Scuzz, who Chris plays, and Durian just ski balled him up the very slick ramp, came to the top of the ramp, and he tied off the rope to some rocks, and we used that to bypass the rest of the puzzle. That felt pretty good, and it was pretty funny. The fourth room was like a 15-foot wide pit, and there was a log that was on an axis like a spool, so it would roll when you stepped on it. At the bottom was a pit of oil that was lit on fire as soon as we entered. It seemed to be also catching the log on fire over time, so we were kind of on a time limit, if only if we took too long. Uh, we start off again with some more goblin sports. We take some pitons and knock them into the stone floor to give some footholds for Durian, to then, after tying a rope to Scuzz and keeping it on the rocks that were tied off before, just absolutely chucking like shock put or hammer toss him across the way to make a line guide for everyone else to use to give them advantage on their I think it was their acrobatics check to get across. Desperado just like dances along, didn't even need the line. He was doing plenty fine. He got a 29. He was good. Scuzz was already on their side. He was helping, and Durian was with a panda. Is not very dexterous and was going to be probably the one that's going to have the most trouble with it. Got down onto all fours, moved onto the log, which was where we figured out that it spun because Desperado, being so deft, didn't even move it. Said to hammer a python like a carpenter into a 45-degree angle where it hits both the log and the wall to kind of like stabilize it a little bit, and then slowly and surely crawled to about halfway of the log before the log started burning up, which was a not so subtle hint from the DM that you're gonna either take some damage or you're gonna have to run. And so I got up with a panda on my back and decided to run. Immediately biffed it. Got a dex save to try and hang on to the log and save myself. And the panda had that choice or to climb onto me. It chose to climb onto me and puts faith in me. Bad choice. Biffed the dex save, fell into a pit of oil that was on fire, and had to help his friends and a rope that was being thrown down. Batman Begins crawls his way up the wall. After that, we found the entrance to a room that was like a 30 by 30-foot room with like 20-foot high ceiling. There's some cobwebs in the center, and there was a chest at the end of it on a raised dais that had a tree or like a mural of a tree that with a I believe it was a black onyx, and there was no cobwebs at the top of the tree on the mural on the roof. We left off there. That was the recap for session 11. Thank you very much for coming to recap and have a good day.